The air was thick with anticipation as I approached the old, weathered circus tent that had mysteriously popped up on the outskirts of town. It was a warm summer evening, and the fading sunlight cast eerie shadows across the entrance. The circus had always been a source of wonder and fascination for me, a place where magic seemed to seep through the seams of reality. Little did I know that tonight, I would come face to face with something far more chilling than any magic trick. I purchased my ticket and entered the bustling tent, where the scent of popcorn and cotton candy filled the air. The atmosphere was electric, with children laughing and adults marveling at the exotic animals and gravity-defying acrobats. I took my seat, the anticipation building with each passing moment. As the show began, the performers dazzled the audience with their incredible feats. A fire breather, a contortionist, and a trapeze artist all held the crowd in rapt attention. But what truly caught my eye was a clown. He was different from the rest, not adorned in the usual bright colors, but dressed in a tattered, gray costume with a hauntingly pale face. His eyes were dark and piercing, and something about his presence sent a shiver down my spine. As the show reached its climax, I couldn't help but watch the enigmatic clown closely. When the final act came to an end, I made a bold decision. I decided to sneak backstage, hoping to catch a glimpse of the mysterious performer and perhaps learn more about his unsettling persona. Quietly, I slipped behind the curtain and found myself in a labyrinthine maze of narrow corridors and dimly lit rooms. It was disorienting, and I quickly realized that I had lost my way. I wandered deeper into the backstage area, feeling an increasing sense of unease with each step. Suddenly, I stumbled upon a small, dimly lit room. Inside, I found the clown, still in his eerie costume. He was sitting on a dilapidated wooden chair, seemingly lost in thought. With trembling courage, I approached him cautiously. "Hey there," I said nervously, trying to strike up a conversation. "You put on quite a show out there." The clown slowly turned his head to face me, his expression inscrutable. His painted smile seemed to stretch unnaturally wide as he replied, "My dear friend, the show is never truly over. It merely takes different forms." I was taken aback by his cryptic response, but before I could say anything else, the clown's demeanor shifted. His eyes grew wider, and he began to laugh, a hollow, maniacal laugh that sent chills down my spine. Panicked, I turned and fled from the room, back through the labyrinthine corridors, and out into the night. My heart was pounding, and my mind was a whirlwind of confusion. What had just happened? Was that clown even human? When I finally made it home, I was relieved to be back in the safety of my own familiar surroundings. My parents, who I still lived with, were puzzled by my disheveled appearance and anxious demeanor. I tried to brush off the encounter with the clown as a bizarre and unsettling experience, but deep down, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. That night, I retired to my room, hoping that sleep would provide an escape from the nightmarish encounter. But my rest was fitful, plagued by unsettling dreams of the clown's haunting laughter. Sometime around midnight, I was abruptly awakened by a strange sensation. My eyes slowly adjusted to the darkness, and to my horror, I realized that the clown from the circus was standing just outside my window, illuminated by the faint glow of the moon. He was smiling, a grotesque, wide grin that sent shivers down my spine. I froze, paralyzed by fear, as the clown continued to stand there, unmoving. It felt like an eternity before I mustered the courage to bolt from my bed and run to my parents' room. I told them everything about the circus, the clown, and the sinister figure lurking outside my window. My parents, concerned for my safety, immediately dialed 911. The police arrived swiftly, their flashing lights slicing through the darkness. They approached the window cautiously, guns drawn, and found the clown still standing there, that eerie smile still plastered on his face. They arrested him without incident and thanked me for my cooperation. It was only then that I learned the horrifying truth. The clown was a serial killer who had escaped from a nearby mental hospital earlier that evening. He had already murdered 3 people that night, and I had unknowingly stumbled upon him backstage at the circus. As I stood there, trembling and in shock, I couldn't help but think of the chilling words the clown had spoken to me: "The show is never truly over. It merely takes different forms." Little did I know just how terrifyingly accurate those words would turn out to be, and how narrowly I had escaped becoming his next victim in the twisted performance of his deadly circus. When I was 13 years old, my family moved to a new town. It was a small town, nestled in the woods, and it had a strange, eerie feeling about it. I never felt quite at home there. One day, I was playing in the woods with my new friends when we came across a clown. He was dressed in a tattered costume, with a painted-on smile that was more like a grimace. He was sitting on a rock, and he stared at us with empty eyes. We were scared, but we were also curious. We had never seen a clown like him before. We approached him cautiously, and he greeted us in a raspy voice. "Hello, children," he said. "What brings you to my woods?" We told him that we were just playing, and he invited us to sit down and join him. We hesitated, but we eventually agreed. We sat down and talked to the clown for a while. He told us stories and jokes, but he never smiled. His expression remained the same, cold and dead. After a while, we started to feel uncomfortable. The clown's stories were getting darker, and his jokes were becoming more twisted. We decided to leave, but he wouldn't let us go. "Not so fast," he said. "I'm not done with you yet." He stood up and blocked our way. We tried to push past him, but he was too strong. He grabbed one of my friends by the arm and squeezed it tightly. "You're not going anywhere," he said. We were terrified. We didn't know what to do. We were trapped in the woods with a crazy clown. Suddenly, we heard a noise behind us. We turned around and saw a group of adults running towards us. They were armed with sticks and pitchforks. The clown saw the adults and let go of my friend. He ran into the woods, and the adults chased after him. We ran back to town as fast as we could. We didn't look back. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the clown. I wondered who he was and why he had tried to hurt us. I decided to ask my parents about him the next day. They told me that he was a local legend. He had been a clown at the town's elementary school many years ago, but he had been fired because he was too scary for the children. After he was fired, he had committed suicide in the woods. Now, he haunted the woods, looking for children to scare. My parents told me that I should never go back into the woods alone. They also told me that the town folks performed a sacrifice ritual every year to calm the soul of the clown. This year, it was my little sister's turn to be sacrificed. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't let them sacrifice my sister. We had to get out of town. That night, I packed my bags and snuck my sister out of the house. We walked to the edge of town and followed the road into the woods. We walked for hours until we finally reached the highway. We hitched a ride to the next town and never looked back. I don't know what happened to the clown or to the people in my old town. But I do know that I'll never forget the night I met the ghost clown. Years later, I returned to my old town to visit my parents. They were old and frail, but they were happy to see me. I asked them about the clown ritual, and they told me that it had stopped. The townspeople had realized that the clown was not responsible for the bad things that had been happening in the town. It was just an unhappy soul, trapped in a purgatory of its own making. I'm glad that the town folks finally came to their senses. I hope that the clown's soul is finally at peace. I was just a teenager when my family moved to a quiet, secluded town nestled near the edge of a dense, ominous forest. The house we moved into was old, with creaky wooden floors and a sense of history that sent shivers down my spine. It was the perfect setting for the strange events that would soon unfold. As I settled into my new life, I quickly made friends with the local kids, eager to escape the isolation of our new home. We spent our days exploring the woods, playing hide-and-seek among the towering trees. One sunny afternoon, we stumbled upon an abandoned clearing deep within the forest, where an old, faded circus tent stood, its colors muted by years of neglect. Excited by our discovery, we decided to make it our secret hideaway. Little did we know that this decision would change our lives forever. It was during one of our playful afternoons at the clearing that I first saw him, the clown. He appeared out of nowhere, his pale, painted face contrasting starkly with the green surroundings. His costume was tattered, his oversized shoes scuffed and dirty. He grinned at us with an eerie, painted smile. We froze, a collective chill running down our spines as the clown approached. His laughter was high-pitched and unnatural, sending shudders through us. "What's the matter, kids? Don't you like clowns?" he asked in a voice that sent shivers down my spine. Terrified, we ran as fast as our legs could carry us, leaving our secret spot behind. We didn't speak of the encounter, convinced that it was just some bizarre prank. But as days turned into weeks, strange things began to happen. I would hear the sound of jingling bells outside my window at night, and on several occasions, I glimpsed the clown's pale face peering through the curtains. My friends started experiencing similar eerie incidents, and we became increasingly paranoid. The clown seemed to be following us, taunting us with his grotesque presence. We couldn't escape the feeling that he was watching our every move, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Then, one fateful evening, our fears were confirmed. We stumbled upon an old newspaper article while exploring the town's library. The headline sent shockwaves through our group: "Circus Clown Joker Found Dead, Suicide Suspected." The article described how a clown known as Joker had hung himself after his final performance at a nearby circus. He had been fired from his job, and the loss had driven him to despair. The accompanying photo chilled us to the bone. It was the same clown we had encountered in the forest. We realized then that the clown who had been tormenting us was not a living person, but a vengeful spirit. Joker had returned from beyond the grave, seeking retribution for his miserable end. We were trapped in a nightmare of our own making, haunted by a ghostly clown who refused to let us go. As the days passed, the encounters with Joker became more intense and terrifying. His laughter echoed through our dreams, and his ghostly figure would appear at the edge of the forest, beckoning us to return to our secret clearing. We were trapped, unable to escape the malevolent spirit that had latched onto us. We sought help from the local townspeople, who whispered tales of the cursed circus clown and the tragedies that had befallen those who had crossed his path. Desperate to rid ourselves of the vengeful spirit, we conducted rituals and sought guidance from the paranormal. But Joker's grip on us only tightened. In the end, we were left with no choice but to leave our new home behind, abandoning the cursed forest and the relentless ghostly clown. To this day, I can't help but wonder if Joker still lingers in those woods, waiting for the next unsuspecting victim to cross his path, forever haunting the abandoned circus tent deep within the darkness of the forest.